Hello and welcome to the Introduction to Online Learning brief lecture. So everyone wants to do well when they take classes, and the purpose of this lecture is to give you some strategies that you can use to be a successful online student. The first key to being a successful online student is understanding that online learning is fundamentally different than traditional classroom courses. A traditional classroom course is going to be relatively passive in that all you as a student need to do is show up. As long as you're there in class and you're paying attention, the teacher will remind you, oh, don't forget you've got a quiz due this weekend, or oh, don't forget you've got a paper due. The material is presented to you in a way that you only need to passively consume that material. Online learning is much different. Online learning requires you to be a very, very active participant in your own learning. It's more flexible, it's more convenient. You can watch these web lectures anywhere you want. You can do the quizzes anywhere you want. I've literally had students once tell me in the past that she did my online quizzes while she was in the bathroom at work. Super convenient, you can do it anywhere. With this convenience comes some pretty hefty pitfalls. Students can procrastinate. They can sort of fall out of the course and it gets difficult to catch back up. Or you can not engage with the course materials, and again, makes it difficult to do the work of the course. So I'm going to go through and briefly talk about 4 tips that you can use to help yourself become a successful online student. And this is based on a survey of students that was done where it asked those students, what were the strategies that they used to be most effective in their online education. So the first step is to set up a system. You need to have a place to work. Now this might be your room in your apartment, it might be your parents' basement, it might be a Starbucks. Whatever works for you, but in this place you want to try and minimize distractions, right? So you don't want to have, you don't want to be working on your computer right next to your Xbox, or you don't want to be working at home while you're also simultaneously trying to cook dinner and watch your brother and sister or something like that, right? You need to find a place where you can focus on the work of the course. You want to make sure you're comfortable with the online tools that we will be using in the course, right? So you want to make sure you're comfortable using D2L. You want to make sure you're comfortable using your email and communicating via email. Are you receiving email messages from me? Am I receiving them from you? Are you able to upload things to the Dropboxes? Are you able to post in the discussion forums? Are you able to take the online quizzes? Right? You need to make sure as soon as humanly possible that you are able to do all of those things, right? Because you don't want to be in a position where the discussion post is due or something else is due and it's 5 minutes to midnight and oh no, I'm not exactly sure how I'm supposed to use this online tool, right? So make sure that you get yourself comfortable with those online tools in advance. And then ask for help right away. I'm typically pretty good at being able to diagnose technical problems with computers. So make sure that you email me early, well before deadline, so that I can get back to you in enough time to give you the kind of technical help that you need so that you're not in a sticky situation before a deadline. One thing I will note too, before you're certain something isn't working, try using multiple internet browsers. Mozilla Firefox is my preferred browser. I know a lot of people like Chrome. Safari should work fine. Internet Explorer should be a last resort. But if something isn't working, try using different internet browsers first, because it could just be a browser-specific problem. The second big tip, and this is a huge one, is to develop a time management strategies. Right, so a typical class that you're going to take at a university is going to require about 6 to 8 hours per week for you. Right, so typical class taken during the semester is going to require 6 to 8 hours a week for you. So if you break that down, well, in a typical class, you're going to be in class for 3 hours a week, which means outside of class, you're going to be spending another 3 to 5 hours studying, working on assignments, doing all of those things. Online courses are no different, except that, again, as I mentioned, with this sort of active nature of online learning, you're going to need to devote 6 to 8 hours of your entire week to the class. Now, this class being an online class and being a summer class, that means that we're going to cover 2 units per week. So if a normal class is going to require you to have 6 to 8 hours per week, then an online summer class where we're covering 2 units per week is going to require you to have about 12 to 14 hours per week in order to accomplish all of the work of the course. So you need to set up a schedule. If you know that you're going to need to put in this amount of time, then the best way to make sure that you're able to do that is to set up a schedule. You want to automate this process of conducting this online class. So for example, you know when you have to work. You know when you have to be at religious events. You know when you need to take your mom for her doctor's appointment or whatever it is you need to do in your week. And so what you should do on day 1 is set up a schedule, block off time. I know, for example, that on Mondays and Wednesdays from about 9 a.m. to 11, that's the time in my life when I'm going to spend when I'm going to do my grading, when I'm going to turn on course materials for this online course. I know that on Thursday afternoons, I'm going to be checking the discussion boards so that I can respond to discussions. I've built that time into my schedule. That way I don't ever have to find time for the course. I know, like Mondays at 9 a.m., that's when I turn on the first week's materials. Wednesdays at 9 a.m., that's when I turn on the second week's materials. I don't have to think about it. I know this is when I do those things. And if you set up a schedule like that for yourself, that is a number 1 way to be able to accomplish the class. Because what you want to avoid is situations where it's Friday and you're like, oh crap, I know something's due on Friday. Quick, let me look and see. And then see if I can do a discussion real quick and also do the quizzes and also watch the web lecture, right? An online course is not going to work well if you're trying to do all the things for the course within the last 2 hours before deadlines. So setting up a schedule and sticking to that schedule is really helpful. Ideally, you want to log in at least 3 times a week per unit. So with an online summer course, we're going to have a Monday unit and a Wednesday unit. The Monday unit will close on Friday. The Wednesday unit will close on Sunday. Ideally, you're going to log in 3 times for each of those units. Once to sort of get a sense of the materials for the week, maybe make your first discussion post. And then maybe a couple more times to do some more quizzes and or put some follow-ups into some discussion posts. The discussions are going to be our primary tool of interaction. This is how I'm going to get a sense of how you're thinking about things. Discussions are meant to be interactive, and they're meant to be a place where we can explore ideas. They're not meant to be a test of your knowledge, right? That's what the quizzes are for, right? The discussions are a place where you can ask questions, you can make connections to experiences you've had or other material that you've learned or other things that you've read. You can respond to classmates. Someone posts something where they say, this thing we're talking about in this lecture reminds me a lot about this thing that I heard about on the news. And then you respond and be like, yeah, I heard about that thing too. And it makes me think of this other thing. Do you think these things are related? Right? You want to have sort of a discussion. I always say post early and often, right? Discussions work if they're unfolding over the course of the week. They do not work if everyone goes to the discussion board and posts something 2 hours before it is due. You typically want to have something meaningful to add, as I mentioned in the syllabus, saying things like, I agree, or I'm sorry to hear about that, or I'm glad that you were able to overcome that difficult situation, right? Those kinds of posts are rarely meaningful. They're sentiment, right? They're meant to make another person feel better, but they don't meaningfully add to a conversation or a discussion, right? So you want to have meaningful, interesting things to say and add. Don't treat discussions like assignments and don't post them at the last minute. The number one way to kill a discussion and to make it tedious and boring and uninteresting is for everyone to post in the discussion forum 2 hours before it's due, because then you're just treating it like a checkbox that you must tick, and it doesn't end up reading like a true discussion. So the last thing to be a successful online student, stay motivated, right? Set goals. Keep your eye on the prize. Remember, you're trying to get through this course so that you can, make the most out of the investment of the money that you're spending to take the course. Develop accountability, right? Have a friend in the course who you can be accountable to, you can talk to about the materials. Have a friend in the course who can read your papers for grammar and spelling and that kind of thing. If you're accountable to other people in the course, you're going to be more likely to be successful. Successful online students set incremental goals for themselves and reward themselves for accomplishing those goals. Right? If I get through and I get my paper turned in a day early, then I am going to go out with my friends to replay in downtown Chicago and play video games and drink beer all night, or whatever it is you're going to do. For example, I set myself a goal today to get this course up and running and to publish these online videos. And when I am done with that, I'm going to reward myself by going down to the driving range and hitting some golf balls. Right? So set goals, reward yourself for achieving those goals. My reward is going to be golf today. Your reward might be a piece of cake. It might be whatever it is that you enjoy doing, maybe watching some RuPaul's Drag Race or some kind of guilty pleasure television show, whatever it is. As long as you're sticking with the schedule, you're setting rewards and you're setting goals and you're rewarding yourself, those are the ways to be successful in this online class. And at the end of the day, remember, everyone can earn an A in this course. The course is designed for you to be able to do well in it. But at the end of the day, you do need to do that work, right? It's up to you to set a schedule, stick to the schedule, make sure you're staying up with the course, make sure you're devoting 8 to 14 hours of your week working on the quizzes, working on the papers, reading the readings, doing the quizzes, watching the web lectures, participating in the discussions. Okay. So that is it for being an online student. There's a quiz associated with this, so make sure you take the first quiz, and then you'll hear me again when you decide to watch the web lecture for the first unit. Welcome to the course.